This morning, President Zelensky addressed the United States Congress, asking us to defend his country against Vladimir Putin. Turn on the television, no matter which network or news program you tune into, you will hear the same ominous sound in the background, the drumbeat of war. We're told that we have an urgent moral responsibility to send money and munitions to a country 6,000 miles away, a country that just coincidentally Joe Biden has business interest in, as do many other people. When we invaded Iraq on the pretext of looking for weapons of mass destruction, over 4,500 civilians were killed in just the first few days. We became embroiled in nearly 20 years of pointless war. It's time for a more level-headed approach to foreign engagements from America's elites. And time we loosen the military-industrial complex's stranglehold on our politicians and our policymaking. There is no doubt that Putin's actions in Ukraine are despicable and evil. We weep when we see images of men, women, and children wounded or killed. We regret any human suffering and we mourn any loss of human life. But we cannot and we must not allow our compassion to blind us to reason and common sense. Because this won't be like any entanglement America has ever entered into before. A potential war with Russia is not comparable to Iraq or Afghanistan. This is an 8-year-long smoldering conflict in which peace agreements have been routinely violated by both sides. It concerns a country in which Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Mitt Romney have direct financial interest. A country which government only exists because of the Obama State Department helped to overthrow the previous regime. The ugly truth is that America is in no shape to throw herself into another foreign conflict. Under Joe Biden, America's economy is weak and dependent on foreign nations for goods and even for energy. And the more we involve ourselves in this foreign mess, the more we force our enemies and frenemies together, playing right into China's hands. Every move the Biden administration has made has hurt Americans and helped Putin. Our former allies are looking at us and wondering if we've gone mad. Just this week, Saudi Arabia, whose leaders won't even take a call from Joe Biden, indicated that they may be open to selling petrochemicals to the Chinese in their currency instead of U.S. dollars. It is impossible to overstate the consequences to America if the dollar loses its position as the preeminent international medium of exchange. Two competing global currencies will devastate our economy. We will have no power to prevent the worldwide famines that will surely follow sanctions that prevent Russia from exporting fertilizer, grains, and energy. If the petrodollar is eliminated as a result of Biden's incompetence, life as we know it in America will be over forever. The dollar will collapse. We will no longer control the undisputed world currency. Our economy will surely collapse thereafter under the massive debt administration after administration have so irresponsibly created. When my constituents from Georgia call into my office here in Washington, D.C., there is only one thing on their minds. Hardworking Americans living paycheck to paycheck don't care about foreign wars or foreign borders. They care about gas prices back home. They care about runaway inflation and the fact that a used car or truck costs 40% more today than it did last year. When President Zelensky asked America to enforce a no-fly zone above Ukraine, we should be clear and honest about what that means. He is asking America to shoot down Russian planes. It means war. It means more dead Americans and more billions of dollars spent on another foreign entanglement that the American people do not want and which we cannot afford. It means Vladimir Putin backed into a corner, his finger hovering over the nuclear button. It means World War III. And what is the White House doing as the world slides dangerously close to devastating world war? Paying off TikTok influencers to lie for them, more concerned with favorable headlines from the Washington Post and the New York Times than avoiding world war? More concerned with social media likes than protecting American jobs and families? I will not vote to spend hard-earned American tax dollars in foreign nations when people are hurting back home. When my constituents are telling me that they want reassurance on gas prices, inflation, and our own southern border. The plain truth is that Ukraine cannot join NATO, and we can only defend NATO nations. We win when America is strong, and so does the rest of the world. We win when we put America first and globalism last. President Biden may be barking and waving a stick, but no one is afraid. Our enemies know that he lacks both the will and the ability to see through his saber rattling. Biden's sanctions aren't working. They're just pushing Russia even closer to China. Russia has made $117.5 billion oil and gas deal with President Xi. Intelligent observers know that sanctions almost never work in the real world. They didn't work in Cuba, North Korea, or Iran. They're not working now. Instead, sanctions act merely as a precursor to war, a sign of battle lines being drawn. If we truly care about suffering and death on our television screens, we cannot fund more of it by sending money and weaponry to Ukraine to fight a war they cannot possibly win. The only effect of more arms and more money from America will be to prolong the war and magnify human suffering. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be responsible for creating even more refugees and orphans in an already traumatized and dysfunctional world. Under the Biden regime, America can't even get a grip on the illegal invasion at our own southern border. Biden's omnibus bill contains $14 billion for Ukraine, but not a dollar for our own border, across which deadly Chinese fentanyl pours every single day. Yet America's citizens are being expected to fund and arm troops resisting an invasion halfway across the world. This is madness. It cannot be allowed. The truth is that under Biden, America is no longer in charge on the world stage. Our friends and enemies alike see this once great nation led by a weak, dementia-ridden fossil in the White House. They know, just as we know, that his failures have led us directly to this point. Joe Biden's weakness and his string of unforced errors paved the way for Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Now his dangerous negligence and Hunter's shady business dealings risk dragging America into World War III. We cannot allow it. Cooler heads must prevail. Joe Biden created the conditions for Putin's invasion into Ukraine when he lifted the sanctions on Nord Stream a year ago. So we began this process from a position of weakness. We can end it in strength, but not by providing guns or cash. We can end in strength by providing a negotiating table. We have to show our allies that we have the ability, the wherewithal, to be able to negotiate something like this. Our nation can start to repair its tattered international reputation and protect its own citizens by bringing Presidents Zelensky and Putin to the negotiating table and fulfilling America's promise as an arbiter of peace. It's not our responsibility to give President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people false hope about a war they cannot win. But given the Obama State Department and the Biden administration's interference in Ukraine over the years, we do now have a duty to help peacefully resolve the conflict by brokering peace talks and a successful, peaceful resolution. We can do all this without sending a dime and without shipping bombs to further inflame a war whose outcome already seems certain. We can do it without risking the dollar and therefore risking our economy, our jobs, and our homes. We must do it, I believe, as Christians to prevent any more human suffering and death.